If you've already watched the previous episodes of the Blue Lock Season 3 recap, skip to the minute shown on the screen. After the unexpected victory of the Blue Lock team over Japan's U20 team, the whole of Japan, and even the world, finally recognized the Blue Lock project, and the journey of this team is about to begin. But unfortunately, the season ended at this exciting moment, leaving us hanging at the peak of our excitement. That's why I decided to continue the events of Blue Lock beyond the anime for you. Ready? Let's begin. Henri returned the players' belongings to them, and this was the first time they were allowed to leave the facility. Since their arrival, leaving had meant exclusion, but now they were granted a full 2-week vacation. Isagi went home, changed his clothes, and decided to go out. His mother asked, "Where are you going? You just got back." He replied that he wanted to enjoy himself a little with his friends. The scene shifts to Shibuya, where Bachira and Hayoma were waiting for Isagi, and he finally arrived. They had a casual conversation like any normal friend. How are you? What's new? Then Isagi asked, will anyone else be joining us, or is it just the three of us? They answered that most of their close friends lived outside Tokyo and couldn't come, then asked him, and you, Isagi, did you contact anyone? He said he had sent a message to Nagi, but Nagi told him he had just woken up and would be late. Isagi was very happy about this vacation. Finally, they could sleep comfortably, go out freely, and do whatever they wanted without fearing what tomorrow might bring. Hayoma shared the same feeling, saying, it's like we were locked in a cell. Bachira then asked, so what should we do today? It turned out none of them had a specific plan. Hayoma then noticed a news article about them and their achievement against the Japan national team, saying, we've become famous stars. Isagi and Bachira were surprised since they didn't follow the news and didn't know what was happening outside the facility. Hayoma explained that because Hitoshi Sei had participated in that match, many people were interested, and their victory spread widely, impressing everyone, especially after Ego announced his intention to create the world's greatest striker, which elevated the status of Blue Lock. Even the university dean declared his full support for the project in front of the media, giving it more official recognition. Bachira said, that fat guy just wants to steal the achievement and claim it for himself. But Isagi was only thinking about the new level they had reached and how people now recognize their talent. Yoma agreed with him. On the other side of the street, another group of Blue Lock players appeared. Isagi and the others noticed them, and they were Reo, Karasu, Yoshi, Ryu, Otoya, and finally Yukimiya. Bachira foolishly walked up to them and they asked, what are you doing here? Isagi replied, we gathered to have some fun. You guys? Ryo answered, we were discussing business and trade matters. Isagi realized that football was bigger than just a sport, something he had never thought about before. Otoya said, don't lump me with them, I'm only here for the Shibuya girls. Bachira suggested they spend the rest of the day together, and everyone agreed. Then Ryo asked, where's Nagi? I thought he was with you. Isagi replied, he said he'd be late. A new message arrived, this time saying he'd be even later because he found a game center on the way, which angered Isagi. Bachira said, what if we surprise him and attack him? The game Nagi was playing had already seen him win 16 rounds in a row, and he didn't care whether it was fun or not. What mattered was the ranking inside. Suddenly they heard a familiar voice behind them. They found him, and they decided to play there too. Otoya was an expert at these games and won on the first try. Yukimiya was skilled at darts, and Bachira and the rest decided to punish Nagi this way. Ryu was a billiards pro. Then they tried ping pong, and Nagi was literally terrible at everything. Ryo suggested going to a karaoke hall. They walked down a long corridor filled with many rooms, and at the end, they found two girls fighting with a boy who wanted to date them both. He tried to explain himself, but they slapped him and left. Bachira and Isagi were shocked, while Ryo said, it's none of our business, let's keep going. Suddenly, Isagi saw a familiar person, the traitor, Japan defender Iki. He asked them, hey guys, what's up? They mocked him, and Bachira said, how do you call yourself a defender when you couldn't even protect yourself against them? He laughed and said, looks like you saw all the details. Then he asked, are you guys on vacation too? My whole team is here. Isagi was surprised, and Iki took them to another room where all the national team players were enjoying themselves. When they saw them, they were annoyed, still not having accepted their loss in the last match. Kuresu and the others arrived, and Kazuma shouted, do you want to fight, you trash? Iki intervened to calm things down and suggested, what if we bet? The losers pay for dinner. He chose the game, bowling. They began choosing nicknames for the scoreboard. By coincidence, Baru was there playing alone, and with one strike, he knocked all the pins down. Everyone gathered around him excitedly. quickly. If he joined them, victory would be certain. But Baru was annoyed and asked, "What are you doing here in my arena?" Nagi picked up one of the balls and said, "If you've got your own balls." Baru snapped, "Don't touch them with your filthy hands." But Nagi wasn't the only one. Everyone else picked them up and laughed, while Baru fumed, wishing he could kill them. The competition began, and the score was still tied. This was Japan's last shot. It was Darai's turn, and everyone was counting on him, with the team's honor hanging on this throw. He calmed himself, focused all his attention on the target, then hurled the ball with all his strength. It sped forward in a straight line. Everyone's nerves were taut as they followed its path with their eyes, and he succeeded in knocking down all the pins. This increased the pressure on Isagi's team, especially since the final throw would be up to the failure Nagi. But this time, he seemed serious, at the peak of focus. He prepared to throw, and then the unexpected happened. He stumbled, fell flat on his face, and accidentally released the ball. Everyone was stunned. The ball rolled forward extremely slowly, and to their shock, it toppled all the pins. It was like a miracle, and Nagi made his team rejoice. Their loud cheers drew the attention of a group of girls nearby, who recognized them since the Blue Lock team had become famous throughout Japan, especially those who had played in the last match. Ego said, "Let's play another round." Isagi apologized, saying, "I have an important appointment with another friend." He picked up his bag and said, "See you later, guys." He headed to the train station, stood waiting for it, and when he heard someone calling him, it was a family, a father, mother, and son. They asked him, "You're Isagi, aren't you?" He replied, "Yes." They said they had watched his last match, and their son had become a fan. The boy said, "I loved your last goal. It was amazing. Can I shake your hand?" Isagi kindly replied, "Of course." The parents thanked him for his humility, and the excited boy said, "I'll do my best to become like you." Isagi boarded the train, thanked them for their kind words, and while alone, he reflected on how the world around him had changed since joining Blue Lock. Then he said to himself, "It's not the world that changed, but I who changed it because I gained a true purpose." In this place, he met Tada, his schoolmate, the player who missed the ball in the first episode, which made Isagi cry back then. Tada was surprised that Isagi still remembered his name, but Isagi confirmed, "Of course I remember. You're my friend, and I remember that goal you missed that cost us qualification." Tada, embarrassed, said, "Man, you were crazy in that match. You've become the hero of Japanese soccer." Isagi replied, "Don't exaggerate. What I did was nothing big." Tada responded, "Life is full of surprises, Isagi. We used to play together on the same team, and now you're a star." Then he asked for an autograph to show off to his friends. Isagi laughed. "You won't trick me again? I know you're teasing me." Then he asked, "How's the high school team doing? Any progress?" Tada answered, "Our goal is still the same. We want to reach the national championship." Isagi said, "Your passion brings back memories of the last tournament." Tada added, "Your spot in the team is still open. You can return anytime you want." Isagi thanked him for the invitation and added, "I still can't believe what happened. I was lucky to score that goal in the final minute. It was unreal. An incredible goal." Isagi was surprised and asked, "What do you mean?" Tada replied, "I mean that last ball. You know, it just fell in front of you by pure chance." Isagi was baffled by his words, but held back his anger because Tada spoke innocently, his simple mind unable to grasp what truly happened in that moment. Tada said, "Man, if I were in Blue Lock, I'd be a hero like you. But Isagi, maybe you've used up all your luck on that goal." He laughed and said, "Maybe you're right," while thinking to himself, "If only you knew what I went through, you wouldn't say that." When it was time to part, Tada said, "Message me anytime, Isagi, don't forget." Isagi bid him farewell, thinking, "I don't blame you for your words, Tada. If I were in your place, I'd say the same thing." He looked around and said to himself, "I didn't realize this until I met Tada. Blue Lock has changed me so much." Back at the facility, Ego appeared speaking to a group of international investors. Their only goal was profit, and they were worried about the project failing. Ego assured them that the second phase of his plans would be far stronger than the first. Everything that had happened since the beginning was only preparation and groundwork for this stage. He told them that the Blue Lock project was no longer confined to Japan, but that the whole world was now following it, awaiting the final product, the greatest striker in the world of soccer. In another scene by the seaside, Rin sat alone, surrounded by silence, reviewing expert analyses of the last match, which blamed the team's loss on Sai's ball retention. Rin recalled that moment and told himself, Whether he acknowledges me or not, I defeated him. I managed to keep up with his speed because my sole purpose was to destroy him, nothing else. I succeeded in stopping him, but it's still unclear how I did it. It was as if I moved involuntarily. I think he deliberately held the ball to push me past my limits. Maybe that's why he ignored me that day. He wanted me to play selfishly, to think only of myself, to prove my talent without relying on him. But in the end, he acknowledged Isagi. I'll never forget his words, and I won't rest until I crush both Sai and Isagi. At Isagi's home, the TV was showing his post-match interview. Though it wasn't airing for the first time, his father never missed the chance to watch it fully. His mother had made his favorite curry and asked, "Was life in Blue Lock hard? I'm surprised you survived against all those amazing players." His father added, "We don't know much about football, but your mother and I are proud of you." Isagi thanked them, overwhelmed with happiness. His father continued, "Do you know what makes me happiest? Seeing you do what you love, son. Don't pressure yourself. Whether you score or not, you're our son and we'll always love you whether you're famous or ordinary." His mother agreed, "My dear, whether you win or lose, we'll always be by your side. Live life as you want." Isagi ate the curry, grateful for everything they did for him, and told them he would become the best striker in the world. After dinner, he went to his room, lay down, and reflected on all he had been through. He thought about every decision since the beginning of this journey, saying Blue Lock had shaped his character, and what he was living now had once been just a dream, one he never thought would come true. But he felt sadness remembering friends who couldn't continue, especially those eliminated by his own hand. At the same time, the taste of victory was irresistible, pushing him always to seek more. It had become an addiction. That's why he wanted to return to the facility as soon as possible to experience it again. At that moment, he received an official Blue Lock notification with the date training would resume. The same message reached the other players, all excited to return, eager to show their talents to the world. The awaited day had come. Helicopters flew over the facility to broadcast the news, while journalists on the ground captured the players' arrival, focusing especially on the team that had played the last match. Isagi and the others entered, full of anticipation for the new phase and challenges ahead. They were the last to arrive. The first surprise was that the Japanese national team had also been invited. Shocked, Isagi asked, "What are you doing here?" Ikki replied, "Ego invited us. He gained the authority to select the new national team and wanted to give us a chance." Bachira welcomed them, saying their presence would make the competition more fun. Isagi noticed Rin standing alone, approached him, and said, "Rin, it's good you're back. Blue Lock is nothing without you." Rin glared arrogantly and replied, "I told you not to talk to me. Do you want me to kill you?" Isagi laughed, "Shut up, you're just pretending to be evil." Their quarrel was interrupted by Ego, who told them, "As you already know, I now have full authority to choose the youth national team players. I decided to give the losers another chance. From among you all, I'll pick the new lineup." His words provoked the previous players, but Ego ignored them, insisting what mattered was their performance on the field. He explained, "There are 100 days until the Youth World Cup begins, and if you compete at your current level, there's no way you'll win. But I've devised a method to accelerate your development. Before that, let me ask, why do you think your level has risen?" Some answered it was selfishness. Others said knowing their strengths. Ego snapped, "Are you idiots? The reason is Blue Lock itself. This environment drove your growth. If the past stage pressured you, the next one will be hell. I've prepared 5 programs, each simulating one of the top 5 leagues. You'll choose where to train. Let me share my views. The English League is home to speed and physical battles. The Spanish League is for creativity and technical skills. The Italian League emphasizes tactics and defensive discipline. The French League is the golden gateway for young talents. The German League relies on logic and rationality, and it's where the best striker in the world, Noel Noa, plays, Isagi's idol." Ego continued, "As for those who want positions other than striker, frankly, I don't care. I'll judge your performance. If you fit my project, I'll pick you. If not, you're out. Many of you think you're special, but if you leave Japan now, you'll realize your level is mediocre and you won't endure that shock. So prove your worth here, then the world will await you. If you want to become world class, this is your chance. Show everything you've learned and carve your path to greatness." Ego gave them 90 minutes to choose their environment, one of the toughest decisions in a footballer's early career. Some were ready and chose quickly. Igarashi picked Germany, Otoya chose Spain, Ryu Italy, Tsurugi France. Hyoma advised not to rush and to think carefully. With 76 minutes left, Hyoma asked Isagi, "What's your decision?" Isagi was torn. He had recently followed the English League closely closely, but had always dreamed of the German league since childhood. Hyoma concluded, "I see, you want Germany because Noel Noa plays there." Isagi agreed, then asked what Hyoma chose. Hyoma answered, "I'll train in the English program. It's based on speed, and I want to test myself." Ryo said he also chose England, since it's profitable and offers business opportunities. They asked Nagi, who replied, "Which league did Birdcamp play in? He was brilliant at ball control." Hyoma said he retired, but he played in England. Without hesitation, Inagi chose England, meaning he and Reo would be teammates. Bachira chose Spain, and Isagi said, "As expected, that suits your style." Bachira answered, "No, that's not why. Wherever I am, my goal is to reach the top, so I don't think about making the right decision, but about making my decision right. Without that mindset, you'll never reach the top, my friend. We'll part ways now, but I want to see you stronger when we meet again." Inspired, Isagi replied, "Yes. Definitely." He silently thanked Bachira for helping him decide on Germany. The selection ended, 9 players in each league. Rin and Shidu were placed together in France. Each group moved to its designated entrance, all sharing the same goal, securing a World Cup spot. The next room was empty until Ego's image appeared, explaining each league's details. Isagi and the others listened intently. Ego said, "Currently, Germany's strongest club is Munich, and you'll train with their youth team." Isagi was shocked at this unexpected development. Igarashi was thrilled about going to Germany, but Ego surprised them. "You're not going anywhere. Everything will take place here in Blue Lock. Don't worry. I invited youth players from the strongest clubs in the top 5 leagues. Italy is represented by Juventus, England by Manchester City, Spain by Barcelona, France by PSG, and Germany by Bayern Munich. And the one supervising the German program will be Noel Noa himself, the strongest striker in the world." Isagi felt like he was dreaming. No one expected Ego had prepared something so legendary. Noel Noa stood proudly before them with 11 youth players behind him. Isagi couldn't believe it. His idol, once just a dream, was now standing in front of him, ready to train him. Ego explained this was the result of their victory over Japan's national team, which had drawn global attention to Blue Lock and attracted many sponsors. He admitted this second stage was beyond his original plans. Ego added, "You're not the only special ones. Other leagues also have star strikers to train them. I've summoned the world's best. For England, Chris Prince, Cristiano's lookalike. For Barcelona, the Brazilian Rafinho, Neymar's lookalike. For Italy, Mark, identity unclear. And for France, Julian, likely Mbappe's counterpart." Then he outlined the goal of this stage. Each program's 11 players versus Blue Lock's 9. The task was simple. Isagi and the others must prove themselves to earn a spot in the starting lineup. The chosen team would then play a mini-league against the others. These matches had special rules, unlimited substitutions, the first to 3 goals wins, and the coach could join for 3 minutes only. The games would be broadcast worldwide, with rankings changing based on performance. Currently, Isagi was at the top, and whoever finished first would secure a place in the national team. Ego named this phase the League of Egoists, the most thrilling league in football history. Excitement filled the air, but Ego added, "I almost forgot, there's one more thing." So I decided to include a player I personally chose. He followed a different path and became a monster. I created him. The door opened behind them, and Kunigami appeared. His look completely changed, eyes filled with darkness. Ego smiled. "At last, the preparations are complete. Blue Lock's second stage begins now." Isagi couldn't wait to see how much Kunigami had changed. Noel Noa descended steadily from the platform and stood before Isagi and his companions, and Ego declared he would leave the rest to the Master of Strikers. Explanations ended. Noa examined everyone with sharp eyes without uttering a word. Isagi felt thrilled to train under the best striker in the world, and happy that Kunigami was still around. But Kunigami appeared lifeless, unresponsive, his face full of sorrow, as if he had gone through hell to reach this place. They opened the door leading to the training zone. Noah simply said 2 lines. "Head for the goal. I'll be waiting at the top." Ahead lay a path symbolizing the future, and they had to reach the upper platform. The youth team stood at the starting line while Isagi and his friends remained stunned. Noah exited through another door resembling an elevator leading directly upward, while the Blue Lock members stayed in place. Suddenly, a countdown began, and most didn't understand Noah's words because he spoke in German. Yukimiya explained and told them to drop their bags and get ready for the competition. 8 seconds remained. Isagi approached Kunigami, told him he didn't know there was a secret path, welcomed him back, and said he was glad Kunigami specifically had gotten another chance. Kunigami coldly replied, "Stop that. I am no longer the kind person you knew. I abandoned those naive traits." Isagi was shocked. At first, first he thought Ego exaggerated, but now it was clear Kunigami had truly become a beast. With 3 seconds left, Kunigami announced his new goal, to become the best striker, ready to do anything to achieve it. He shouted loudly enough for everyone to hear. Isagi ignored him and prepared to run, while Igarashi didn't understand, and Raichi told him not to mind, calling it the barking of a loser. They launched, beginning the first test against Bayern's youth squad. The first zone was flat ground. Kunigami dashed ahead like a madman, leaving Isagi struggling to keep pace, though still close. In the second zone, a steep incline revealed the difference in ability, with Bayern's youth advancing, and even Isagi doubting they were the same age. The third zone required gradual running, and at the end of each section, times were recorded. The fourth zone demanded jumps across uneven, unstable surfaces, making balance hard. The German team led, with only Kunigami competing against them. Then a notice suddenly declared the first finisher, Kaiser. Isagi felt anger realizing how far he was from the world level, but he refused to give up, aiming to catch up and be among the leaders. In the final zone, they had to advance with the ball along a winding path and score to open the gate. Isagi sprinted, focusing on the target to minimize hesitation, and upon reaching the kicking area, shot directly at the center. Suddenly, a German player appeared beside him, as if waiting for him, blasting the ball away with immense power, blocking Isagi's shot. Shocked, Isagi couldn't tell if it was coincidence or intentional. The player said, "I am Kaiser, the one who makes the impossible real. I'll make you Blue Lock players kneel." Isagi didn't grasp it fully, but it was clear this player intended to crush them all. The ball returned, and it seemed he wouldn't let Isagi proceed. At that moment, Isagi recalled the name, Michael Kaiser, ranked among the world's top 11 young players. Raichi and the others arrived, confused by Isagi's halt, thinking there was a system error. He told them no. That player blocked his shots, angering them. Yukimiya called it aggressive and unsportsmanlike. Kaiser only smiled, provoking them to lose focus. Another player appeared, greeting Kaiser, and noting the others couldn't understand him. He carried a box with the Blue Lock logo, pulled out earpieces, and gave them to Isagi and his group, devices that translated speech instantly into Japanese and vice versa, with voices mimicking the speakers. He introduced himself as Alexis Ness, an attacking midfielder. Igarashi marveled at the translation's quality, and Yukimiya noted Ryo's family made them. Another player stepped forward saying, "Don't approach them, they're disgusting," introducing himself as Eric, who complained that the club president promised fierce competition but disappointed him. Ness told them to ignore him, as Eric was notorious for harsh words everywhere. Eric was a striker, and so was Grimm, who told him not to overreact, reminding him they had chosen to come and should regret their poor decision. Then he broke down like a fool, claiming sadness births pain, and pain is the key to growth, making bizarre, slightly perverse sounds, saying feeling pain means being alive. Eric snapped at him, calling him disgusting like the rest. Igarashi and the others were stunned, never imagining world-level players could have such odd personalities. Suddenly, Kaiser's hand approached Isagi's face, saying he came to see Blue Lock's star, urging him not to disappoint. Isagi pushed him away, saying, "Don't touch me." Kaiser grabbed his hands, telling him to shut up, not be arrogant, but prove his worth, urging him to stand as his obstacle and stop him with all his might. Everyone was shocked by his arrogance, except his teammates, who knew his nature. Isagi thought the boy infuriating, squeezed his hand, and said fine. He'd make him regret coming, bury his name with his own hands. Kaiser smiled, that's what he wanted. A harsh atmosphere full of relentless competition. Laughing, he said he liked Isagi's serious expression, finally feeling excitement, then asked for a towel to wipe his hand, which Ness provided like a servant. Ness asked if he had decided Isagi's role, and Kaiser said this stage was his theater, where he was the main star. Blue Lock players were side roles, like circus animals performing tricks, and Isagi would play the ridiculous clown amusing the crowd, fitting for someone who thought himself the world's best. "You'll all burn in my flames." At that moment, Noah intervened, scolding Kaiser, telling him to stop his arrogant childish behavior. Kaiser apologized, claiming he only wanted to motivate them to push their limits. Noah glared, saying he hadn't permitted a reply, that he alone set the rules. Kaiser calmed down, agreeing. Noah told them the first training was over, its purpose being to evaluate physical capabilities. He said his decisions were not emotional. Whoever achieved higher numbers earned their spot in the starting lineup. The program collected data, ranked them by performance, and only the top 11 would be starters, the rest substitutes. Isagi was last, scoring the lowest since Kaiser blocked him. Noa stressed that Bayern's principle was logic and numbers, with rankings as the deciding factor. Isagi realized Noa differed from Ego, separating decisions from personal views. All Blue Lock players ranked low, except Kunigami in third, Ness in second, and Kaiser first. Isagi grasped the reality. This wasn't routine training, but an unofficial showdown against Europe's top academies, aiming to destroy the Blue Lock project before everyone's eyes, and Isagi vowed he wouldn't let them crush his dream. The next training focused on expanding vision, followed by moving without the ball, and Isagi still has 10 days before the first match in the Egoist League, during which he must secure a spot in the starting lineup. Isagi advanced in the ranking, but is still far away, though he has not lost hope, with 6 more ranks left to surpass. The next drill was a match with the one-touch rule, where no player is allowed to touch the ball more than once. Isagi's goal was to crush as many Bayern players as possible, as he sees Blue Lock players as allies and the foreign ones as rivals. The training ended, and they returned to their rooms, 4 in each. Yukimiya asked Isagi if Kunigami had told him what he went through, to which he replied no, and they agreed that the path Kunigami chose might actually be better than theirs, as his abilities have clearly improved, and his final grade was A, the last level before turning pro. The tablet Corona was holding contained data on all the players. Isagi noticed that Kunigami's strengths were speed, offense, and shooting, while his weaknesses were passing and defense, whereas he himself excelled in offense but was weak in the rest, holding a B grade, and he guessed his weakness stemmed from a lack of physical strength. Heading toward the door, Corona asked him where he was going, and with his headphones on, Isagi replied that he was going to meet the Master Striker. This was Noah's office, with screens in front of him showing all the possible data. Isagi entered, greeted him politely and respectfully, and Noah removed his headphones and asked what he wanted. Isagi requested advice on how to climb the ranks. Noah asked if he had any remarks about the training schedule, but Isagi said no, he just wanted to succeed and surpass Kaiser. Noah then asked what his weapon was, and Isagi replied that he specialized in direct shots. He asked how he created the conditions to use that weapon, and Isagi said he tried to break through opponents and position himself in open space before the goal. When asked how he achieved that, he explained that for the full 90 minutes he concentrated on monitoring the players to find the best gap to slip through, so he always focused on increasing his stamina. Noah then asked what skills he needed to master his weapon, a question that puzzled Isagi as he had no clear vision. Noah asked why, hadn't he thought about it before? Isagi started blurting out random details. Noah dismissed that and asked him to assume he possessed those skills. Would he then be able to defeat him? Isagi was caught off guard and replied that he didn't know. Noah understood what was holding him back and told him he needed to change his mindset. I don't know has no place in a footballer's mind, as it will always leave him confused, overcomplicate his thoughts, and prevent him from finding logical solutions. Someone like that would never be chosen for his lineup. Isagi fell silent, unable to defend himself, then asked what advice he could give Master Striker. Noah replied, if he asked him about the first action he took when waking up or starting his day, was that action aligned with his goal? Did he live every moment for his dream? Did he make use of every moment to become the best in the world? Was he not already in the perfect environment to reach that goal? Then why wasn't he doing it? Here he would realize that the flaw lay in his way of thinking. Isagi was grateful for these instructions. The days passed quickly and the day of the match arrived. Bayern faced Barcelona. As expected, Isagi and all the Blue Lock players were not in the starting lineup except Kunigami. On the other hand, Otoya and Bachira had already proven themselves in La Liga. Isagi was surprised to see them, but what shocked him more was that Otoya was a starter. Still, he did not let dark thoughts consume him. Instead, seeing them fueled his determination to keep fighting until he earned his spot in the starting lineup. The first match in the Egoist League was about to begin. At the start of the match, Otoya was surprised to see Isagi sitting on the bench, while Bachira confidently declared, I won't wait for anyone, I'll keep moving forward on my own. Isagi, however, was drowning in a sense of disappointment because he had failed to secure a starting position and couldn't comprehend the incredible speed at which Kunigami had developed. Determined not to waste the opportunity, he decided to use every moment of this game to observe and analyze, knowing this was his chance to understand the weapons of his opponents. Ego reiterated the rule rules. The team that scores 3 goals first wins. Substitutions are unlimited, and the coach is allowed to participate only for 3 minutes. As soon as the whistle blew, Kaiser touched the ball first and immediately passed it to Ness, who quickly noticed Grimm moving on the wing and sent him a precise pass that cut between 2 players. Grimm received the ball with exceptional control and with dazzling speed dribbled past 2 defenders, while Isagi carefully watched every detail, trying to grasp everyone's abilities. Grimm collided forcefully with a Barcelona player and realized that if he didn't pass, he would lose the ball. He spotted Kaiser attempting to break through the defense but surrounded, so he opted for a lofted pass that reached Eric. The ball wasn't perfect, yet Eric managed to control it, mockingly commenting that it was the worst pass he had ever seen. Still, he displayed astonishing skill, slipping past 2 defenders at once, but under relentless pressure, he had no option but to pass the ball to the player he hated most. The ball reached Kunigami, caught between 2 defenders. Kaiser positioned himself to receive the pass, but Kunigami refused to give it up. He controlled it with his chest, placed it ahead of him, and declared through his actions that he wouldn't allow anyone to steal the spotlight from him. In that moment, he became the most selfish player on the pitch. The goal stood open before him, so he sprinted at full speed and unleashed a powerful strike with his right foot, but the goalkeeper blocked it. Isagi admitted to himself that Kunigami had evolved into the perfect striker, capable of creating danger from anywhere on the field. Kaiser, however, was dissatisfied that the ball had never reached him, especially since Barcelona had regained possession. Ness confronted him. "If you had passed the ball to Kaiser, it would have been a guaranteed goal. Your style doesn't fit our philosophy." Kunigami sneered back, "Do you think I care? I'll do whatever I want." Ness gripped his shoulder firmly, and the tension nearly escalated, but he only smirked and warned, "You've been given a warning, don't repeat this." Kunigami shoved him violently, asserting he was no longer a player who could be tamed. In the next attack, the ball reached Bachira, who grinned and said, "Time to put on a show." Isagi fixed his eyes on the ball, eager to see the level of his closest friend. Bachira advanced with his heartbeat racing, not from exhaustion, but from sheer excitement. At that moment, he recalled what had happened 10 days earlier when they had met the Brazilian star, Rafinho, a Barcelona player who had been assigned to train them. Rafinho handed them translation headsets, only for them to be shocked when they realized he was actually speaking Japanese in his real voice. Otoya asked him, "Will you be the one training us?" And he replied while removing his glasses, "It's true that I am your trainer, but I won't be teaching you anything, you idiots." Everyone was astonished except Bachira, who felt a resemblance between them. Rafinho explained further, "This place exists to create the best striker in the world. Do you expect me to help you surpass me? That will only ever happen in your dreams." Bachira asked him innocently, "Isn't Noah the best right now?" Which enraged him, and he snapped back, "You little brat, do you want to fight? I am the best in the world. That's what I believe." Bachira actually liked what he said, and then Rafinho showcased his skills, saying, "If you want to reach the top, never listen to those who say otherwise." He added that in his beginnings, he used to imitate a Brazilian player greater than himself, and that it wasn't shameful to start by copying, because with time, they would create their own style. He described himself as a butterfly dancing freely across the field, with no one able to predict its next move. What he put on was more of a dazzling performance than a lesson, and he clarified that the audience comes to enjoy themselves, and their mission is to ignite that excitement. His movement seemed like a musical composition with its own rhythm. Bachira was deeply impressed, even snatching the ball from him at one point. Rafinho smiled and said, "It seems you understood my point, boy. Don't expect the coach to guide you. You are the ones who must choose your own path." They also went through some training sessions, a bit different from those Isagi's team had experienced. Later, Bachira told his coach about the monster he saw, to which he replied, "That's wonderful. The monster is the obstacle you must overcome." Bachira said that he had already defeated it, and now he didn't know what to imagine to continue evolving. Rafinho asked him if the monster had disappeared, and he said, "No, I still see it, but it's smaller now." The coach answered, "As long as you can still see it, that means you still have more stages to climb. Let it lead you further." Back in the present, Ali was the first obstacle in front of Bachira, but he slipped past him in the blink of an eye with a brilliant nutmeg pass. Igarashi was amazed amazed. An established Bayern player had just been beaten so easily, and although Bachira's style still relied on dribbling, Isagi noticed the change. He was no longer reckless. He could now hold onto the ball calmly without revealing his intentions, making him almost impossible to read. This new approach gave him numerous options, and that's why he didn't rush, because now he could see those options. Thinking carefully before making any decision, he then faced a second professional opponent who couldn't hold back and lunged at him, but Bachira stormed past him like a hurricane, then brushed aside a third defender with ease. Rafinho looked thoroughly satisfied with his performance, and even Isagi admitted that watching him play was entertaining, but this time he came face to face with Kunigami, who looked as hopeless as ever. Bachira said to him, "Welcome back. I don't know what you went through on that path, but I'm happy to see you, Kunigami." Kunigami replied, "I saw you dancing alone. How about a partner? But I'll be the one leading the steps." He charged toward him quickly, and though Bachira tried to dodge, Kunigami held firm, but with a swift feint, Bachira slipped past him, saying, "If you want to be my partner, muscle alone won't be enough." There he faced Eric and Grim, who blocked his path. Bachira decided to backheel the ball to Ignacio, who with a single touch sent it to Atoya, who instantly returned it to Bachira in tiki-taka fashion. Bachira then finished the play with a stunning bicycle kick that ripped Bayern's net, announcing Barcelona's first goal. Everyone was shocked that Bachira had become the team's center point, with the ball starting and ending with him, after successfully imitating and refining Rafino's style. Isagi remembered Ego's words, "Your choices will change your lives, either for better or worse." And he wondered, what can I learn from this team? Should he submit to the rule of playing for Kaiser, or follow Kunigami's selfish path and end up ostracized like him? He was torn, not knowing what to do. Igarashi thought Kunigami would soon be substituted because his style was a burden, and the others agreed, expecting Noah not to go easy on him. Isagi told himself, "I can't step in now without value. I need everyone's recognition, not just Kaiser's. I couldn't even beat them in training, so how could I earn their respect?" He decided to sit back and observe Kunigami until he found the answer to his question. Play resumed, and Ness passed the ball to Kaiser, asking, "What's the plan now?" Kaiser coolly replied, "It's time for execution." He returned it to Ness, then sprinted off the ball toward the goal. Ness feigned a normal pass, but twisted his foot at a strange angle, bypassing a Barcelona defender and slipping past Atoya with the same move. Ness's nickname was the midfield heartbeat of the team. Raichi said, "If I had a player like him behind me, I'd score easily. That Kaiser guy is lucky to have the whole team supporting him." Isagi realized Kaiser managed to exploit the entire team to his benefit, but he also admitted Kaiser's movements were calculated, opening spaces for his teammates by drawing the opponent's focus. His movements were exactly the kind of thing Isagi aimed to replicate. Ness reached the penalty area with plenty of passing options, but he sent the ball to the farthest point where no one expected it to land, and there was Kaiser sprinting behind the defenders to receive it. But the surprise was that Bachira was chasing him closely. He whispered, "Your hair and tattoo make me want to crush you even more." Kaiser lightly pushed him away to gain the space he needed. The ball was right at his feet, and Isagi was stunned by the precision of the pass. He thought Kaiser would wait until it touched the ground before striking, but instead, Kaiser unleashed a direct volley in midair before it dropped. The goalkeeper was stunned, and Kaiser's foot seemed like a cannon tearing through the net. The play ended with a brilliant goal, equalizing the score at 1 apiece. Isagi admitted Kaiser was a true genius, unlike anyone he had ever played with before, and finally understood why everyone relied on him. Noah confirmed that this kind of shot produced the fastest strike in the world, even admitting that Kaiser surpassed him in this type of kick. Kaiser's goal turned the entire atmosphere of the match upside down. He wasn't just a talented player, but a genius with a different mindset, managing to score a legendary goal at a moment when everyone thought it was over. Isagi admitted to himself that Kaiser was clearly superior. Every one of his movements was calculated, his play style purely rational and entirely detached from luck. That was why he became the team's top star. He relied on cold logic and well thought out decisions. Isagi couldn't hide his jealousy. He wished he were in Kaiser's place because he believed that the striker Ego was trying to create had to be at Kaiser's current levels, who represented in his eyes the peak of football evolution. Bachira carried the ball toward midfield and praised Kaiser's goal, saying it was perfect, before smiling and adding, "You fired me up to crush you." Kaiser responded with a confident smile as if saying, "Show me what you've got." Then Rafinha stood stood excitedly on the sideline and said, "You fired me up too, guys." Removing his glasses, he added, "I wasn't planning to join the match, but after what I saw, I changed my mind." He took off his coach's attire, officially declaring that he would enter the game, but only for 3 minutes. The players were shocked. Rafinha's participation would flip the match in Barcelona's favor, as he was one of the top 5 strikers in the world. But Noah wouldn't let him steal the spotlight and decided to join as well to maintain balance, turning the showdown into a clash between Germany's and the world's best striker versus Spain's top striker. Everyone was thrilled. Matches like this were incredibly rare. With full confidence, Noah said, "It's a shame you try to hide your miserable past. Have you forgotten last year's defeat?" Rafinha replied mockingly, "How could I forget the dullest player I've ever seen? I pity those you train. You teach them the most boring style in football." Noah smiled coldly and answered, "Our style can't be understood by a simpleton like you." The argument ignited the crowd even more, as each star sought to prove the superiority of his own philosophy in front of his players. Noah then turned to Kunigami and said, "I know your goal, you aim to become the best striker, but in my team our philosophy is clear. Either you support Kaiser or you prove you're stronger than him, so everyone will follow you. So far you haven't shown you can do that. Will you support him or not?" Kunigami refused, insisting he would play for no one but himself. Noah replied, "You had your chance and wasted it. Now there's no solution but to replace you. When you waste opportunities, you end up in trouble and you pay the price." The substitute was Isagi. Everyone was stunned. Even Isagi himself hadn't expected it. Yuki protested, saying, "Mr. Striker, we want a logical explanation. You told us you choose based on performance, and I rank higher than Isagi." Noah calmly replied that he knew. Yuki, nervous, asked, "Then why choose him?" Noah answered, "I chose him for the audience's entertainment. We have sponsorship contracts, and the hero of the Blue Lock project must play because the fans are waiting to see him." Everyone then realized the reason was Isagi's massive popularity after his match against Japan's national team. Isagi stepped onto the field, knowing that Kaiser had predicted his fate when he once called him a clown. Noah asked, "Any objections?" He replied, "No, I'm ready." Determined to seize this chance to prove he deserved a starting spot, the substitutions were made. 2 Bayern players off and 1 from Barcelona. Both Bachira and Kaiser welcomed him as he took his position on the right wing, with Noah at center forward and Rafinha mirroring him on the opposite side. The question remained, could Isagi assert himself among these stars? At that moment, Isagi recalled his childhood memories, the days he passionately watched Japan's national team matches, deeply admiring Noah's goal-scoring style. And now, here he was, playing beside him. For Isagi, earning Noah's acknowledgement would be more valuable than anything else. The ball started with Bachira, who passed it straight to Rafinha. Both coaches' objective was to score a goal within 3 minutes. The selfish Rafinha ignored everyone, refusing to pass. His only desire was to defeat the master striker himself. He tried advancing from the right, but Noah stopped him, then from the left, only to face the same fate. Noah stood as an unbreakable wall before him, their movements on a superhuman level. Isagi couldn't keep up. The intensity of the duel was far beyond a level where beginners could even approach. Isagi thought of supporting Noah and rushed toward them, but that was exactly what Rafinha had been waiting for. Instantly, he slipped the ball between his legs and flicked it high, using his presence to halt Noah's advance. Everyone grew angry at Isagi's recklessness, and he nearly fell after losing balance, but Noah saved him from embarrassment. Isagi apologized, and Noah asked, "Do you know why that man is called the dancer?" Isagi replied, "Maybe because he's good at dribbling." Noah said, "His dribbling is indeed exceptional, but the real reason is that he makes defenders dance to his rhythm." And truly, Rafinha dribbled past every opponent with lightning speed until only the goalkeeper was left. The keeper rushed out to confront him, but Rafinha changed his decision at the last second, gracefully leaping over him like a butterfly, calmly landing in front of the goal and scoring in a humiliating fashion. He saluted the crowd like a musician finishing his symphony. The score became 2-1 for Barcelona. Bachira couldn't hide his amazement. Rafinha's dribbling was flawless. The latter said seriously, "Your resistance is useless. The result won't change." His teammates celebrated with him. As for Isagi, he admitted to himself that he had misjudged the situation and acted recklessly in that clash. Suddenly, Kaiser placed a hand on his head and said, "Well done, Isagi. Keep it up, you're quite the clown." Isagi angrily shoved him away, shouting, "Shut up, idiot. Even you didn't intervene, you just stood there watching." Kaiser sneered, "You fool, you don't get it. I chose not to intervene while you rushed in without thinking. Your poet friend and I were waiting for the perfect moment to move without becoming obstacles, but you charged in blindly. That's why you're a clown, because you couldn't grasp something so simple on your own. Your excessive ego is deformed, Isagi. Isagi paused and thought, realizing Kaiser was right. He hadn't yet synced with the flow of the match he'd entered with the wrong mindset from the start. Proving himself among these stars was impossible for now, so he needed to begin by showing that he could actually be useful to the team. Noah stated clearly, Bayern recognizes only one thing: victory. If you want to be part of this team, you must do whatever it takes to secure it. Isagi quickly began reorganizing his thoughts and priorities, understanding that one single mistake could make this his last appearance. Play resumed as Noah passed the ball to Kaiser, while Isagi moved forward, searching for a good position near the goal to receive a pass and convert it into a score. He believed that doing so would earn Noah's recognition, but suddenly, the master striker burst forward at full speed, breaking through the lines even though he didn't have the ball. Isagi couldn't grasp his plan. Noah's movements were so sharp and fluid, it was as if he carried the ball with him. This was fully aware of what to do and immediately passed the ball to him. Noah's control was flawless. With his powerful build, it was nearly impossible to press him. He advanced confidently. His dribbles were not chaotic but quick and decisive, each step calculated to give him the edge. And whenever he sensed the risk of losing possession, he didn't hesitate to pass, a mentality entirely focused on victory. The ball quickly returned to Kaiser, who passed it back to Noah after creating an opening. Isagi realized he was still far from reaching that level, and for the second time, he made the wrong decision when he tried to steal Noah's goal. He imagined himself in front of the net, only to be surprised by Rafi's timely arrival to stop him. Rafi ordered his teammates to fall back and defend the goal, leaving him with no option but to commit a foul, yet he failed to do even that. Noah regained his balance and prepared to shoot, but as the defenders rushed into block, he suddenly pulled the ball back, making them look like mere pawns. Rafi pointed out that Noah's strength didn't lie solely in his perfect physique or intellect, but in his masterful control of the ball and his feet, both of which were equally strong. Rafi tried pushing him to trip him up, but failed. Noah reacted instantly, using the shove to lift himself and launch a devastating shot toward the corner, a missile-like strike that smashed into the net. The score was now 2-2, and the next team to score would win the match. Everyone in the stadium was amazed. Noah looked unbeatable. Isagi whispered that only 1% of humans possess the ability to use both feet with such precision, and that's what made Noah extraordinary, a weapon that training alone couldn't grant. The 3 minutes were up. Rafa wanted to stay longer, but Noah ordered his teammates to stay focused, then called for Kunigami to replace him. In a firm voice, he asked, "Can you do what I just did, you who've returned from the bottom?" Kunigami replied confidently, "Yes, I can." Noah stepped off the field and said to Isagi and Kunigami, "This is your last chance. If you fail to score, you'll never play football again." Kunigami coldly responded, "Isagi, don't get in my way, I'll be the one to score." Isagi shot back, "The same goes for you, hero bastard." With that fierce energy, everyone braced for the decisive match. The next goal would be the golden goal. Whoever scored it would survive. Isagi looked at Kunigami and asked, "Why did Noah call you the clone?" Kunigami replied, "Why do you want to know?" Isagi said, "I just want to understand how you survived." Kunigami fell silent for a moment, then said in a low voice, "They performed experiments on me that gave me the same physical attributes as Noah. They chose me to be a replica of the world's #1 striker." Isagi was stunned by his words, but Kunigami continued, "But these traits mean nothing here, because in this team, no one even passes you the ball. Instead of thinking about beating me, think first about how to get the ball." Isagi smirked and said mockingly, "You're the one who should be worried, clone, because you're still far from Noah's real level. You're just a cheap imitation of him." In the middle of the field, Bachira and Otoya were waiting for the whistle. Once it blew, Otoya passed the ball to Bachira. Isagi rushed toward him, trying to intercept, but Bachira smiled and said, "I'll take it if you can." Isagi focused entirely on the ball, forgetting about Otoya, who slipped ahead lightly, and the two exchanged quick 1-2 passes that completely threw him off. Rafa commented, "Bachira is the light, and Otoya is the shadow. Everyone chases the light and forgets the shadow that moves silently behind it." The ball returned to Bachira again. Grim tried to take it, but was easily dribbled past. Then Kunigami faced him and also failed to stop him. At that moment, Ness intervened with perfect timing, intercepting the ball before it touched the ground. This is the embodiment of rational football. Everything is possible when you choose the right moment and place. Kaiser moved smartly into the center. Ness immediately spotted his movement and passed to him, but Isagi was watching everything, both enemies and allies, and at the perfect moment, he stole the ball from from Kaiser. It was his first touch of the match. Ness, Kaiser's servant, broke down mentally from failing to deliver the pass to his master, while Kaiser looked at him in disbelief, thinking, is this another act in the clown Isagi's performance? Isagi quickly began analyzing the field around him, but the goal was too far, and Barcelona's defenders were pressing hard, giving him no time to make a calculated decision, causing him to lose the ball quickly. Isagi muttered, even if I run with everything I have, shooting from here is impossible for me. He realized he needed a plan to get the ball inside the penalty area. The ball reached Grimm, and Isagi approached him, pleading, give me another chance. But Grimm ignored him completely and moved forward. That's when Isagi understood he had to take the ball himself, just like before. He felt the crushing pressure and the ticking seconds. He was utterly alone against two full teams, but that pressure pushed him to his limits. His brain accelerated, calculating at insane speed, searching for the shortest path to shoot. Grimm neared the penalty box, and Bachira sensed danger, knowing Bayern was now closest to victory. Grimm tried to pass to Kaiser, but Kunigami was right beside him, pressing harder than even Barcelona's defenders, saying, no one's taking this ball but me. Kaiser didn't get angry. Instead, he smiled. This kind of rivalry was exactly why he came to Blue Lock, for pure competition. Grimm realized passing to Kaiser was impossible, so he lifted the ball high toward Ness. It soared over everyone, and suddenly Isagi once again cut it off at the perfect moment. Bachira was right in front of him, expecting him to steal the ball, and said, you won't get past me this time. But Isagi outsmarted him with a clever step and dribbled past. Though the distance to the goal was still too far, he knew he couldn't shoot, so he decided the only solution was to pass. Ness saw Isagi glance toward Kaiser and smiled, thinking he was going to pass to him. Kaiser also smirked mockingly, believing he had finally subdued the Blue Lock hero into joining his followers. But the shocking twist, Isagi's pass wasn't to Kaiser, it went straight to Kunigami. Even Kunigami himself hadn't expected it. Isagi had decided to ally with him to shatter the German's arrogance. All that remained was for Kunigami to shoot, and the moment the ball touched his foot, he turned into a true beast, unleashing a devastating rocket shot so powerful that even Noah's eyes widened in astonishment. The ball ripped through the net. The score was now 3-2 for Bayern. Victory was theirs. Isagi, in a calm tone, said, let's go, hero, this team belongs to us. Here we will stop for today. Thank you for watching.